thousands of kilometers apart. Three different civilizations separated by thousands of years with no direct contact with one another. Göbekli Tepe in Anatolia, the Sumerians and Assyrians in Mesopotamia, and the Olmecs in Central America. They had no shared language. They had no shared political history. There is no known direct connection between them. Yet, when you look carefully at the stone reliefs, a surprising similarity appears. An object with a handle, held in the figure's hands or carried above their heads. A mysterious form that resembles a modern handbag. There are hundreds of theories about this. Sages from Atlantis, ancient aliens. But what are we really seeing here? What does archaeology actually tell us about this symbol? Let's start with the earliest examples. Göbekli Tepe, Ground Zero. Dating back roughly 11,600 years, Göbekli Tepe is a site that has forced us to rethink human history. There is no writing yet, no hill. Agriculture is only just beginning. And yet here, we find highly sophisticated carvings engraved onto massive T-shaped pillars. On the upper section of the stone, often called the vulture stone, three-handled forms appear side by side. Viewed through today's aesthetic lens, they really do resemble handbags. However, archaeologists have found no evidence that these were actual accessories. Interpretations vary. Some researchers think they may represent a stylized symbol of the sky. Others suggest they could be an abstract representation related to temple architecture. And some believe they might symbolically depict baskets or containers used in everyday life. One point is important here. The society of Göbekli Tepe consisted of hunter-gatherers. Baskets and carrying containers were essential survival technologies, but because they were made from organic materials, they did not survive to the present. The representations carved into stone, however, did. Mesopotamia, the bundled bucket. Now, let's fast forward in time. By the first millennium BCE, Neo-Assyrian reliefs depict winged protective figures. These figures usually hold a pine cone-like object in one hand and a handled container in the other. This container is known in Assyrian as the bundled. For example, we can clearly see these scenes in reliefs from the reign of Ashurnasirpal II. Here, written culture begins to replace speculation. Mesopotamian texts and the iconography show that this was a bucket of holy water. Priests would take water or a purifying liquid from this container and sprinkle it with the pine cone-shaped instrument. It was part of a purification and fertility ritual. So, what we see here is not a fashion item, it's a ritual vessel. Central America, the Olmecs. A similar handled form also appears in the art of the Olmecs, who lived between roughly 1200 and 400 BCE. In some reliefs, figures hold or stand beside small bag-like objects. In Mesoamerican cultures, priests are known to have carried bags containing copal resin or ceremonial containers used in rituals. However, an important point must be emphasized. There is no archaeological evidence of direct contact between the Olmecs and Mesopotamia. Similarity is not proof of cultural transmission. So, why does this similarity exist? The scientific explanation is actually quite simple and very human. People living in different regions often develop similar solutions to similar basic problems. Food and water must be carried, seeds must be stored, liquids or resins must be transported for rituals. For this, you need a container and a handle to carry it. That's all. In biology and cultural anthropology, this phenomenon is called convergent development. Similar environmental needs produce similar technological solutions. What is truly interesting? Perhaps the most striking point is this. We usually describe the beginning of civilization through weapons. We say the first invention was the spear, That power first came through war. But think about that. If you cannot carry the meat you hunted or the fruit you gathered, you cannot plan for tomorrow. If you cannot store surplus food, complex social organization cannot develop. A container, a basket, a bag, these are actually the quiet infrastructure of civilization. A handled container means thinking about the future, storing resources, planning ahead. That's why these objects are not just everyday tools. They are symbols. Symbols of abundance, order, and control. At Göbekli Tepe, they are carved into stone. In Mesopotamia, they are placed in the hands of the divine figures. In Mesoamerica, they become part of the ritual. There is no scientific evidence of extraterrestrial intervention here, but there is a far more fascinating truth: the universality of the human mind. Across thousands of kilometers and thousands of years, people discovered the same fundamental idea. To survive, you must carry things. To carry things, you need a container. And over time, that container becomes a cultural symbol. Perhaps this mysterious bag is simply the signature of one of the humanity's most humble yet revolutionary ideas, carved into stone, thinking about tomorrow. And perhaps what truly connects us is not beings from the sky, but the human mind, facing the same needs, arriving at the same solutions. Thank you for watching. See you in the next Art Story.